Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Heavyweights Podcast. In one corner, standing at 6'3", 290 pounds of solid chicken wings, Dustin Urban. And this corner at 6'7", 280 pounds, the one, the only, Big Daddy Nick Klein.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Heavyweights Podcast. I'm your co-host, Nick Klein, and joining me, as always, is Dustin Urban. So, we're basically in the dog days of summer, the dreaded awkwardness between the NFL draft and training camp. We don't even get rookie mini camps. Most teams aren't going to do OTAs.
Somebody save us.
So, it's going to be a slower time, but we do have some decent news. The NFL schedule was announced last Thursday night. A little too drawn out on, the NFL Network, which I get they have nothing else to do. Luckily, the Colts released theirs a half hour early before the start of the show that lasted 3 hours.
I think most teams did.
And most teams did, so it just ended up being able to talk about it, so it was still okay. But the biggest thing is there is still a coronavirus clause in this year's schedule. So every team that they play in week 2, they have the same bye later on in the season, so that way they can delay the start of the year to basically week 3 if they need to, and they'll make up another game somewhere else. So
let's just hope that doesn't happen.
Let's hope that doesn't happen, but we'll start off with the Thursday night matchups. Reeves, what's your biggest matchup you got on for Thursday night football this year?
Probably by looking at the schedule, I want to see that Dallas and Baltimore game. I think that's probably the best one, but I think defense, both offenses are pretty good, and I think Baltimore has the edge. But I just can't see what this Dallas team does, that offense.
That's week 13, so that's later in the year, too. So you'll be established more knowing what those teams are going to be. I'm not completely sold on Dallas yet. I think Baltimore's going to be right there almost with Kansas City in the AFC, but I wouldn't mind that matchup. If it's me talking and just looking at, just a quick thing, I know where Urban's going to go. I, though, want to go Green Bay at San Francisco, Week 9, a rematch of the NFC Championship game last year.
See if Green Bay learned how to stop the run.
Yeah, if they did anything. And can San Francisco also, is Garoppolo going to take that next step forward? Right. Are they going to establish themselves as one of the NFC powerhouses? I know we had them third in our power rankings last week, and the Packers dropped considerably because they didn't do anything to help out, really, Aaron Rodgers in the draft at all. So we'll see. Let's go with yours then.
Yeah, I went with Week 6, Kansas City and Buffalo. That's an interesting game to me. I like the week before that too, the Bears and Tampa Bay, depending on what we see out of the quarterback position for the Bears going forward. But really, to me, Week 6, Kansas City and Buffalo.
I mean, I'm okay with that. It's just Tampa Bay, though, like you said, it'd be interesting. They've got 6 primetime games, which is the maximum amount that
it's a little ridiculous,
the NFL allows. But, I get, Tom Brady's back. He's, in a different place. They're going to have weapons everywhere. Gronk's out of retirement. But I don't need to see them 6 times.
No.
You got several. The Colts' only primetime game this year is the freaking Titans again. But looking at this Thursday night schedule, can we just take a second to appreciate that for once, the Jaguars and Titans don't play each other on Thursday night football when the games don't ever matter between them.
I'm just happy that it's not a bunch of bullshit games like you'd always get.
It was mostly divisional opponents.
Yeah, it was. Usually that's all they were supposed to be doing.
But you've got Christmas night. No one even talked about that. You've got Minnesota traveling down to New Orleans. That's going to be a great matchup because Minnesota's still going to be good. I mean, I get they lost Stephon Diggs, but they did a lot in the draft too, and Kirk Cousins looked, at least if any implications of what he did in the playoffs, he can win big games again. Now, can he win primetime games during the regular season? We haven't found that out yet.
Sleeper would be Week 11 too. The Cardinals at Seahawks, depending on how the Cardinals.
I was going to say that's going to see
depending on how it goes early for them.
Right.
There's an interesting stat with Arizona. They have beat Seattle. I think in Seattle since 2014, 2015.
So four straight wins there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know that one.
I mean, just for once, Thursday night football is projected, at least on paper right now, to be more than just a divisional battle. You didn't need to see Week 15, the 12-2 Kansas City Chiefs against the Las Vegas Raiders, who had won 3 games at that point. You knew what that outcome was going to be. And I think the NFL finally realized that ratings were slipping. And the only games that were surviving were games on Thursday night. Like, I think Seattle and San Francisco played last year on one of their they did Monday night, I think, and then a Thursday night.
Probably.
And it was going to impact the division and playoff seeding. So we'll shift over to the next primetime game, which is the Sunday night matchups. This seemed a little different to me because you got more divisional opponents here. But right off the bat for me, it's Houston at Kansas City is probably going to be my favorite game. That's kicking off the year. Deshaun Watson, I think, is going to take another step forward. You've got the two best young quarterbacks in the league right there, and they're going to kick off the season. It'll be interesting to see how much Bill O'Brien has fucked this team up in the offseason with these trades.
And maybe, I mean, other than the Hopkins trade, maybe it all works. You know, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say he's a decent coach. He's a terrible GM. Like
he's a garbage GM that gave away DeAndre Hopkins, who's one of the best receivers in the league, for nothing.
Yeah.
I still think, though, he's got one of the best.
He still has weapons.
He still has weapons. Can Fuller stay healthy? But I think this could be a great game to watch to start the year, and I'm excited. Like, it's been a while.
And I mean, that playoff game, Houston jumped all over them to start it. Like, everybody, a lot of people forget
21-0.
Yeah, and they blew it, but if they
should be a high-scoring game.
They jump all over them again like that. I don't see that happening.
The best news is it's not going to be the low-scoring slobber knocker we had last year when it was Chicago and Green Bay. It was just long and drawn out.
Is that your favorite matchup, or is that?
That's my favorite matchup just because it's out of the gate, and I just you give me two top 5 quarterbacks in this league, I'm all for it.
I want to go with I really like Packers Saints week 3. That'll be really interesting to see Drew Brees, possibly his last year.
Oh, it's for sure his last year. He already said it. This was it.
Yeah. No, I didn't know.
He's
already
contract
got
for
CBS.
Aaron Rodgers in the dome down there. That'll be it should be a good game.
My interesting one's going to be week 14 with the Steelers at Buffalo Bills. I think that'll be a huge
playoff
seeding.
Yeah, between the 3 and 4 seed right there, I believe.
I mean, we'll have to see what Ben Roethlisberger, what close he's going to. But I mean, they're going to have weapons. I fully expect Pittsburgh to get in the playoffs this year. They almost got in last year. The defense is going to take another year and another step forward together. And like we've talked about, Tomlin should have deservedly gotten head coach last year. I get you want to give it to Harbaugh, or who got it last year. It's not ringing a bell in my head. Or was it Shanahan last year?
I don't remember.
Harbaugh got it.
But you usually give it to that one seed, but Tomlin got in with Mason Rudolph and Hodges.
If the Ravens didn't go 14-2, they probably wouldn't have got it.
Can I say something real fast? To the New England fuckstick on your guys' forum who said Mike Tomlin was the most overrated coach, you're an idiot.
Yeah, he's not.
I know he was on the hot seat, but this year he kind of proved that he can still win without the weapons he's been given. I mean, you look back, they've had 3 head coaches in 40 years, Chuck Noll to Cowher to Tomlin. But one thing Pittsburgh's done right is get their coaches right. And Tomlin's a great guy in the locker room. And it got shaky for a while because you had the Brown saga, you had the Le'Veon Bell saga. It's kind of looking like they were the locker room problems. Like, I get Ben Roethlisberger's probably not the easiest teammate to get along with, especially with all his off-the-field troubles that he's had over the years.
That and his radio shows a lot to do with some of
he'll
their
throw
agitations.
Players, and he'll throw players under the bus real quick.
Especially with Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, those two were big problems in that locker room. But we'll see what happens this year.
All right, so we're going to move on. The Sunday night's going to be a good night, but Monday night about the same. You have some big game matchups.
I like Monday nights better this year than I have in years past. To be honest, a lot of Monday night games the past few years have not. There have been a couple good ones. Don't get me wrong, but over the last 5 years, Monday Night Football. Ever since it went to ESPN, really, to me, it hasn't been as big of a deal as it used to be when it was on ABC.
Yeah. I think the worst one that I see right now is that Bears and Rams. Because I'm going off last year's game on week 7. Do you guys remember how bad that game was?
I mean, you see right there, Kansas City Ravens. That'll be a hell of a game.
Steelers Titans.
I think we can all agree that's probably the top matchup that people are looking forward to right there.
I don't think anybody.
You've got the last 2 MVPs. They're both going to be up for a heavy consideration. Mahomes is already odds-on favorite again this year. Lamar's right behind him.
They should be too.
And then Deshaun's right behind them. But if we're just going off that, Urban, we'll let you start off this time.
All right.
What's the biggest matchup you're looking for?
I'm going to skip that Kansas City Ravens game, but I like that Arizona Cowboys game. Week 6, see where each team's heading. Really, I think that'll tell a big story to see who gets into the playoffs, possibly.
Okay.
I'm going to go later in the season, go with that Buffalo Bills in San Francisco.
Yeah,
I think that's going to be a very good defense.
And we're all assuming that Buffalo's defense is still going to be top 5.
And that Josh Allen doesn't just go trash can on us.
Right, because he's got 2 receivers that he can actually throw to now.
Yeah.
Okay, see, I'm probably going to surprise you guys with this. Mine's going to be Week 10. Minnesota's going to go down to Chicago.
Yeah.
Can Kirk Cousins win in primetime on the road against one of the best defenses in the league? Because people forget, I get Trubisky won't be starting by then. If he does start this season, it's going to be the Foles show.
Right.
But can their defense lead them enough and offense keep them in contention with the division? Because this division should still be wide open at this point. But if it is, this should be, one of the top. If not to win the division, the other team should be, in contention for the wild card because there's going to be 3 of them this year. But what do we have there? And I think this is going to have major implications going on later into the season right there.
Yeah, it'll be big to see what Kirk Cousins has, down the stretch this year to see if he can build off that playoff win last year.
And I think that NFC North is definitely going to be tight with the Vikings, Bears, and Packers fighting for the division. My
thing with Cousins is he hasn't beat the Bears in the last 2 years, and he hasn't beat the Packers in the last 2 years. So
correct.
You gotta those are 4 games. You gotta at least split those if you ever want to overtake Green Bay for that.
What
division.
about the Lions with the healthy Matt Stafford? Do they have any shot at maybe making a little noise in that division?
I could see them going 7-9, 6-10 somewhere, but I don't see them being anywhere close to contending for the division. Personally.
I don't think contending for the division, but Stafford was playing at an MVP type level last year.
They can make. They were in a lot of games last year that were 1-score games. Besides, the only one that I think they really got blown out in was against Minnesota. Later in the season, so they were in a lot of close games, and they could have easily had 3-4 more wins. Right. That's the way a lot of teams are.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and then. What do you think about, though? See, what I don't like is we get into the NFL schedule. Usually your last 2 weeks are division games. The Steelers and Bengals, Week 15, I know you want Burrow, you want time to shine. I could really care less the last couple weeks. I don't think the Bengals are anywhere close to competing. Could he have an Andrew Luck type year and lead his team to the playoffs? Yes, but I just don't see it. It's so rare to do that. And it's just at this point, to me, that game's just got blowout written all over it. Yeah. Pittsburgh going in there competing for more, and they're just going to beat down on a young rookie that they're going to keep blitzing because that defense has some studs.
Right.
And you're going to throw someone out there to show them because he was the number 1 overall pick in the draft.
Yeah.
I don't get it. How do the Bengals get a home Monday night primetime game when you have so many other teams that deserve more spots there?
And that might get flexed out.
Yeah,
that late in the year, you're right. That total. I don't get the pick though.
They should have switched that with the Steelers and Titans in Week 15. That would have been a more interesting matchup there. But Burrow Monday.
It's usually divisional games that late in the season, so that wouldn't really work because the Titans and Steelers are in different divisions.
Right. Well, they still play each other. It don't matter.
Yeah, whatever.
No, you're okay.
Another Monday Night Football game, Week 12, Seahawks-Eagles. That would be intriguing to me, possibly.
As long as Wentz can stay...
No.
As long as Carson Wentz can stay healthy.
Right.
They'll be there.
Eagles can beat anybody if Wentz is healthy.
Mm-hmm. And if he would have been able to play that playoff game, that game would have been a lot closer. And the Eagles still had a chance to win, don't get me wrong.
Right.
They could have beaten Seattle, but that defense will be improved. So, overall, we've got some better primetime games. I know some teams are out there complaining they didn't get any. I mean, you're guaranteed one, but it's always going to be minimum of a Thursday night game.
I've seen a lot of Colts fans bitching, but I mean, really,
you've missed the playoffs 4 out of the last 5 years.
Yeah,
I get wanting because you have a new face in here, but you have a young, talented roster that's developing still. You've got DeForest Buckner, who's an All-Pro, and then you tag that in with bringing in, Phillip Rivers. You're just banking a lot on him being what he was 2 years ago and not last year.
I mean. Most of our games will be at 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
So
if we're going there, the Colts schedule, the only thing I don't like is in a 5-week stretch, they play the Texans twice and the Titans twice. So if you're not firing on all cylinders right there, you could be done for the year because of that. Or if you have some injuries, key injuries right before that, it's going to screw you over.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So any other things about the schedules that you guys see when we're looking at all of them right here?
The only, I say, the worst probably games on there is probably the Chargers and Saints in Week 5. I don't know if I'll be staying up to watch that.
I mean, I'll still watch this Monday Night Football because it's football. And at this point, if the schedule comes out on time like it should...
If Herbert's playing though,
it'll be interesting to see. But I'm going to be happy there's football.
If Herbert's playing though, like I wouldn't mind seeing him.
That's probably a halftime game.
That would probably be my first chance to see him. I don't think the Chargers have a lot of primetime games.
All right. Well, we'll shift onto that because we still have some uncertainty. These rosters aren't finalized yet. We know that they're going to go into camp with 90. They're going to cut it down, but we still have some big name free agents out there on the list. So I wrote some down earlier today. Some names that just popped out. Trust me, I could have gotten a lot more. There's a lot more players on there.
We're not going to spend crazy amount of time.
I don't have time just because, they started a game here and there. You know them for your favorite team. But to me, the number one free agent on the market, though, is Cam Newton. The only thing I can see that's holding him back right now is because he can't just travel to any team, have their medical staff look at him and say, my shoulder's fine and my foot's fine.
Right.
He's more than willing to take a backup job. But he is still a starting caliber. It's not even in question he's a starting caliber. He's still a Pro Bowl level.
Top
10 level quarterback in this damn league.
Yeah. I don't see why. I get why he's not on the team, but it's crazy to me that he's...
So first guess then...
Has a deal in place like up upon a...
Right. So just first guess here. Who do you think he signs with? Give me your top 2.
Oh, fuck. I'd have to go with... Jacksonville or Patriots.
All right. Reeves?
I'm going to go a different route. I think Denver. And I'm going to shock you guys with Seattle.
Why Seattle?
They could use a hell of a good backup. Russell's never been hurt, but you know how sometimes the role plays. And picture if Russell goes down, you have Cam Newton sitting there as your backup.
I mean, I can see that. I wanted to say New England there. I just don't think that Belichick likes the style.
I don't think he does either, but could you imagine Cam Newton, like the way they would use Cam possibly?
Right. So he's not going to go to Chicago, which would have been my number one pick.
Me too.
I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. Roethlisberger can't stay healthy.
Right.
Love it.
Tomlin, they need a better backup than what they had last year. They used Mike Vick a few years ago and it worked out. They've done it before with others. And this is going to be, but I'm still going to say, I know you're going to say they're back up now, they have one, but I'm going to go with the Rams. I would see no problem with them cutting Blake Bortles on an instant if they could bring in Cam Newton.
Absolutely.
So those are my top 2 for some reason in the gut that I think they're going to go with.
Take that, Blake.
Yeah. If Goff doesn't get off to the start that he needs to, I'd say bringing in Cam would definitely...
That's why I love the Denver shot right there, because Flacco said he's more than willing to come back too, but he's got to get tested out as well.
I think anybody wants Flacco to come back.
Yeah, because and Ron Rivera, before anybody out there listening saying, well, why doesn't he go with him? Rivera said he could see it, but there was special circumstances. They're going to ride with Haskins.
Yeah, that GM would never let that happen.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate it.
The owner.
I don't think the owner would hate it. I just don't think the GM would want to. He took him last year.
And the Redskins traded for Kyle Allen, the quarterback for Rivera, so I don't see Newton going there at all.
All right, let's move on to the next one.
All right, we got Jadeveon Clowney still out there. I mean, he's offered or he's wanted up to 17. What 1.1, 20 million, and then he came down to 17 and. I've said all along, if you can get him for fucking 14 or 12, and I'm the Colts, I'm getting him.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the case, but he's still not willing to come down. And it's another thing, he's another player that's hindered because he hasn't been able to go to practice facility and get his medicals checked out because he hasn't played a full season.
Yeah.
Since 2014.
He's only played a full season twice, right?
I think only once.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's never had more than 10 sacks. Is he one of the better outside linebackers or down DNs in the league against the run?
Yeah.
By far, he is. So it's just, where can he go? I still think something says Seattle. I know they've gone back and forth, but I still think he's going to end up in Seattle because he loved it up there. And he came out last week and said that.
I mean, I know he said that, but he also said there's no circumstance where you could see him going back there. So, I mean, do you believe what he says? I don't know. Obviously, you can't because he's a fucking
Yeah. Right now, it's just one of those. I have no idea. Wherever he goes, you can find. He's going to start.
Yeah.
Outside of a few. No, they don't have the cap space. Next.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd like to see him somewhere like maybe in that division, possibly like an Arizona.
There was room. Arizona, Tennessee, Jets, Colts, and Seattle have all had links to him.
Jets would make a lot of sense too.
Any of those teams will make sense. He can go on those teams and start.
Well, I'd already said
if Bill O'Brien wasn't an idiot, he should try to bring him back. Yeah. But
he ain't going back.
All right, let's move on to the next one because I was surprised. I get the Saints cap space. 3 years ago, they signed Larry Warford from Detroit in free agency. He's made the last 2 Pro Bowls. I get he was scheduled to make $14 million this year. You drafted Cesar Ruiz, and then last year you took a center early. So they're going to probably move Ruiz to guard, and he's going to start right away, and it frees up cap space. But no one's talking about this. We've got an all-pro level guard that is on the market, and no one's out there talking about this.
I don't know. I've heard him linked to the Bears a few times, but that's just
that would be extreme. I think if I'm the Bears, I'm jumping all over that right now, though.
But the only reason I think I've heard him linked to the Bears is people are like, "Who needs offensive linemen really bad?" Bears, but I haven't heard like any source from the
Tampa
Bears
Bay would make sense too.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, a lot of teams would make sense. He's a Pro Bowl guard.
He could make.
I mean, send him to Cleveland. You know, they could use him.
Jets got another piece to there.
There's some shitload of teams that could use him.
All right, let's move on to the next one. Former Bengals, Darqueze Dennard is up.
Or Dennard, as our friend Reeves would say.
Yeah, we don't listen to him pronounce anything.
I'm with you. I'm not very good at pronunciation.
He was originally supposed to go down to Jacksonville, failed the physical. They pulled it. He's on the market. Is he a top corner on your team? No, but he is a good starting slot corner or your second best corner. To me, the Patriots would make sense here. You could bring him in. I think he's going to want to go to a team that he thinks can compete for.
Maybe Kansas City.
Yeah,
Kansas City can't afford. I know, but Kansas City can't afford anybody. They've got to save.
Didn't Watson take a pay cut or not Watson, but yes,
Watkins.
Sorry.
Yes, but they've still got.
They still don't have anything.
They've still
got to move some pieces around.
And they've got to sign their draft. Yeah, and they've got Patrick Mahomes coming up, so Dennard's not going to go there.
Yeah.
Buffalo.
No,
they got a shitload of corners. I don't know. That's interesting. Patriots probably for sure.
Yeah.
Then we'll move on. Defensive end Everson Griffin, former Minnesota Viking. Another guy I would really love to see go to the Colts. Add another outside rusher.
Someone brought that up on JMV The Ride the other day, and I'm okay with that.
I mean, I was saying it as soon as they cut him, but it's just
I don't see it
happening either.
There'll be a late training camp ad.
Maybe go back to the Vikings all along. That's what you said.
Yeah, I still think he's going to go back. If I had to guess, to rework out the deal, but he did come out and say that he thanked everybody on Instagram because he always said he had that player option to pull himself back out.
Well, if you're a team like fucking Green Bay I mean, they don't have a whole lot of cap space.
Seattle to replace Clowney. That'd be a good fit for him.
If you get him on like a veteran.
Seattle needs pass rushing help, so that makes sense.
$1-2 million.
Titans,
I don't know.
Titans as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot.
Atlanta,
a lot of teams could use a big body pass rusher.
Yeah, at this point, like Cam, I just wanted to kind of guess. The other ones, they're here for a reason. The next one, Logan Ryan.
Yeah.
Bounce back year last year, Tennessee. He announced the other day that they're not going to bring him back. They never offered anything. Starting caliber player again. I don't know where he goes.
Right now, he's in deep talks with the Jets, and they believe they'll get a contract done. But until
it's just rumors floating around, and that's
I don't want him.
You listen. Of course you don't, because you don't like winning games. So sign him starting.
I'd rather have Clowney use our cap for Clowney than Logan
Ryan. Logan Ryan's not going to command anything near what Jadeveon Clowney is going to. This has nothing. He's not going to get it. He might get it on a 1-year deal, but this isn't the level of Clowney and how young Clowney is, and is still an elite player at one thing, which is stopping the run. So this has nothing to do with Logan Ryan and being close. Like, if we sign him, we sign a fucking corner. We can't sign a DN. That makes no goddamn sense.
Right. He's getting around $15 million. So if you sign Logan Ryan,
signing bonuses, contract structure, you could foreclose everything to the second year for Jadeveon Clowney and do a 1-year deal for Logan Ryan. Boom, it works out. What? Comparing a fucking corner to a down lineman makes no sense here, Reeves.
Logan Ryan's making tops at tops. His best deal he's getting is probably $7 million at tops. But I would like him to go to Tampa Bay, personally.
Pretty good fit.
Then we'll move on to Eric Reed, because
this dude should have had a big contract years ago.
Right.
I get we're not going to get into it. He kneeled with Colin Kaepernick, but he is a starting all-pro caliber type.
He got another chance at Carolina
and was great there last 2 years. Started every game.
Fucking awesome.
No idea why they just bounced on him.
Well, that owner down there, he's trying not to have anybody. Yeah, I mean, they just drafted a safety.
They just drafted a safety. Malik Hooker's still there. Geathers is on the open market. They're not going to bring him back, but they got their 5th round pick, Kari Willis he played well as a rookie. They're gonna roll that train, bud.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe
the guy should be signed by now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he fits in a lot of places.
Green Bay would be a great fit there,
right?
Or put him across. I know he's almost similar to Harrison Smith there. Minnesota would help too. They need all the help they can get in the secondary.
Yeah,
Raiders.
I mean, they just drafted a safety last year.
Yeah, and so did the Raiders last year too. But you can still.
I don't know. There's a lot of places you could go and fit in well.
Well, I'm hungry, and speaking of hungry, Damon Big Snacks Harrison, that big son bitch. Detroit, his contract was up. He's one of the better nose tackles in the league. DJ Reader just got that massive deal to go to Cincinnati for the Bengals. Any team that wants someone up the middle that is going to command double teams, he's not an Aaron Donald. He is just, I'm here to stop the run. I'm going to get some pressure on your quarterback, but I am a large human, and I just take up space. So who struggled last year to stop the fucking run? Green Bay. Why the hell haven't you brought him in yet for anything or even talked to him? Because you got gapped everywhere against the 49ers.
Well, I know he used to play for the Giants, but hell, he'd be a great fit for the Giants.
Yeah, they just unloaded him because he was making, I think, $14 million when they sent him to Detroit.
I mean, maybe you could see Falcons possibly, but they don't have a lot of cap room.
Right on. All right, well, that's the biggest names I could think. I mean, not think of. There's others on there.
Right, but they're the most. Yeah.
Jason Peters, Gordy Glenn.
Right,
Gordy Glenn's still on there. You have some other pieces, but
let's get into something funny here. Talk about dumbasses do dumbass shit. We're talking about Jamal Adams trade rumors here.
He ain't
possibly. Yeah, and this is.
You can say that, but they keep getting circulated every so often to where the fact that players are now talking about this.
True.
And once your defensive captain, who you just paid a shit ton of money, publicly comes out and says, do not trade him, and when I'm talking CJ Mosley, there's something going on in that building.
He heard that somewhere.
Yeah, he's hearing it, and it's probably from his agent who's talked around to other agents that they are actively shopping this dude. And if they are, I'm sorry, you're giving away your brightest young piece. I get, you want that to be Sam Darnold. You have Le'Veon Bell. But Jamal Adams...
He probably has another 10 years being a great starter in this league, barring injury,
He has the potential to be the best defensive player in the league starting next year. He has everything. He's not just a deep safety. He covers everywhere. We've seen it last year. He does everything for this team, and he's going to lead them, and you're going to just say, you know what? No. Did you ever see Ed Reed get traded? No. It's the same comparison. I'm not saying he's Ed Reed, but he has the potential to get to that level.
Right, he's a baller.
Yeah.
I just don't see our GM Joe Douglas doing it. I think he's a lot smarter.
I mean, I didn't see you guys keeping Adam Gase for a second season either, but here we are.
Well, he's definitely on the hot seat.
2 playoff appearances in the last 10 years? Yeah. There's a reason why you guys are at where you're at, and it's your owner making those decisions to hire those people and then not getting rid of them. So it doesn't surprise me one bit.
I mean,
Gase has had
Gase originally signed a 3-year deal, or is it 5?
I think it was a 5. Fourth with a 5th option.
Yeah.
Fuck.
You see this time and time again. Gase, everywhere he's gone, San Francisco, Denver, Chicago, Miami, he does not get along well with star players outside of Peyton Manning, but Peyton was already established and told him to fuck off. This is my offense. Right. You're going to look good because of me. Yeah, and this is why he keeps getting jobs, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He wasn't bad in Chicago, but Miami, you never saw that. Tannehill clearly benefited from going with a defensive-minded coach and then using his strengths in play action. He traded away multiple of his better players down in Miami. The offense would stutter for weeks on end. He had the worst offense in the league last year. I get, you lost your second year starting quarterback, but it was still, you had one of the best running backs in the league.
He said one of the dumbest things I've heard, too. He said we're going to try to lighten the load on Le'Veon Bell this year. They didn't give him a very big load last year. He got some of the least amount of touches in his entire career.
Might have been his lowest since his rookie year.
I was saying, you're going to lighten the load. The dude needs the ball more, motherfucker. What you sign him $13 million a year for?
You spend most of our fucking cap money on offensive line. You think you're going to give the ball to probably our best offensive playmaker right now?
100% is the best offensive playmaker they have. And then probably he is.
Yeah, there's really.
He should be the only thing they do. They should be. I mean,
especially last year with having only Robbie Anderson to throw to.
Yeah. Right. How he didn't, I don't know. The offensive line was garbage. I get it.
He also got 800 yards rushing behind that offensive line.
Right.
Which is
but
impressive.
There should have still been, swing passes, dump downs, screens, anything to design.
I'm targeting him at least 80 times in the passing game.
Just like Christian McCaffrey was down in Carolina.
Right.
If they get off to the start, I believe they'll fire Gase and they'll roll Greg Williams as the new head coach.
Yeah.
Bounties galore. So
hey, sign him up, baby.
We'll get into something that the Jets don't have as receivers.
Yeah, let's hit that question of the week, boys.
Right on.
Yeehaw! Damn about them questions of the week, Travis.
Do you have them questions? Then we have them answers. It's time for the questions of the week.
Well, the question of the week was, who are the top 5 receivers in the NFL? We had some participation from the fans, and give us a rundown, Nick.
All right, so we actually ended up having 9 different players selected for your top 5 in the NFL right now. A couple that didn't make the list, Stephon Diggs, which I was surprised you're going to put him in top 5. It's nothing against him, but he doesn't have that elite, I'm taking over a game type, do it all. And then Amari Cooper was another one, a little surprised. He had a bounce back year. He's paid like a top receiver now, but he ain't the top receiver. Oh. So we'll just start off with, there's a tie for 5th, so this surprised me a little bit. Michael Thomas and Mike Evans tied with our fans. Yeah. So, and that's nothing, again, against Mike Evans. He benefited last year.
Yeah, but
Godwin across from him.
You can't say that the dude
that led the league in receiving yards,
Marvin Harrison's record
reception
for receptions in a season is anywhere less than 2 or 3 to me.
And he's proven that time and time again.
Right. This isn't his break. He had a breakout year. Don't get me wrong. He had a great statistical year, but
the year before he had a nice.
Yeah, I mean,
so he's been around. Since
he's not new.
All right. So then there was a tie for 3rd and 4th with Davante Adams and Tyreek Hill.
Oh shit! Tail made the top 5.
And then a tie for 1st and 2nd, and you can coin flip these two, is DeAndre Hopkins and Julio Jones.
Yeah.
So I agreed with everything. And just Diggs getting up there was a little surprising, and then Thomas and Evans tying.
We all know our top 5. We all have the same 5 players in our top 5, but Nick, none of us seen each other's top 5 before we
sat down to start recording tonight.
Yeah. Nick and I have the same top 5. It's Julio, Michael Thomas, DeAndre Hopkins, Mike Evans, Davante Adams.
Correct.
In that order, 1 through 5. And Reeves has the same 5 players, just in a different order.
So what's your order?
Hopkins 1, Julio 2, Michael Thomas 3, Mike Evans 4, and Davante Adams at 5.
Right.
Okay, so we agree on 4 and 5.
You could argue 5 all day, probably. You could probably argue.
And I almost left Davante Adams out. I'm higher than him. Who I would have put in there instead would have been Kenny Golladay. He's proven it the last 2 years that he is an elite number 1 receiver. I'm sorry. He led the league in touchdown catches last year. He had some of the worst quarterback play. Like, we can talk about Pittsburgh, but did anybody watch Detroit the rest of the season when David Blau got in there and then
Jeff
Driscoll got in there and they had to throw him the ball? Like, poor Golladay.
Right.
He had Marvin Jones Jr. across from him, but it was hard to get him the ball, and he still had over 1,100 yards and 11 touchdowns. It's time people actually start respecting him. Or it was that, and then Keenan Allen, who's been underappreciated his entire career until you see him on like a primetime game. You're like, oh shit, this dude still balls out, because he was 4th in the league in receiving yards.
Right. Yep.
So I mean, we good. I mean,
I think.
and that's the thing is Davante. It's just
I like T.Y., but I think he's more of a top 10 receiver.
I don't even have T.Y. in my top 10.
I would have, if T.Y. wouldn't have been hurt last year,
I think
he is a top 10 receiver in this league, and he has been for years. He was third all-time in your first 5 seasons in receiving yards and receptions. All-time. Yeah. People just don't talk about him. And yes, he missed games last year, but other than that, he's been healthy.
Right.
And then in 2017, his only other down year where he still had 1,000 yards, Jacoby Brissett was throwing the ball. Who was throwing the ball last year? Jacoby Brissett. So if I'm Phillip Rivers when I'm going in there, I'm getting my timing down and everything with T.Y. because he is always open. And the fact that the Titans just re-signed Jonathan Joseph. Yeah. T.Y. is going to go off twice a year again already.
Wow, I didn't even... You mean the Texans or the Titans?
Titans.
The Titans brought Jonathan Joseph over from the Texans?
Yeah.
Fuck. Boys.
T.Y. eats them alive, and he already eats Houston alive when he's healthy.
That's why I think Indy's going to challenge for this division.
They can't. It's solely 100% in my mind what Phillip Rivers do. You have the pieces, but you don't have enough pieces to carry that team like an old Tampa Bay defense would or a Baltimore defense would. You just don't have it.
Unless they turn into the best running team in the league,
I mean, they'll be better running the ball. They're going to have a 2-headed monster.
I mean, they were...
Well, they're going to have a 3-headed monster because people forget Nyheim Hines.
I mean, Mack was leading the league in rushing last year before he got hurt, I'm pretty sure.
And then you got Taylor, and then Nyheim Hines can do everything out of the backfield, and you got Wilkins too. So, all right. I mean, I'm cool with all those. So, we all good?
Yeah. Let's kick it to another part here.
And let's just take a commercial break. Let's set. I already yelled at Reeves like 5 minutes ago. I needed time to just give me like a 30-second break. Let's hit the commercial.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let us explain.
It's free.
There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer.
Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more platforms.
You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership.
It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place.
Now download the free Anchor app and go to anchor.fm to get started.
And make sure you listen to the Heavyweights podcast. All right, thank you to our sponsor, Anchor. We really appreciate the commitment to helping us out on this podcast. We're going to go with 5 names you need to know for the 2021 draft. Or NFL draft, and I'm going to kick it to Nick here because he's our draft guy.
Yeah, I'm trying to slowly watch film from last year. It's pretty easy right now. That's one of the better things about this coronavirus. So many games are available finally on YouTube where you don't have to buy league passes.
Right.
I'm nowhere near as good as a lot of the names you see, Daniel Jeremiah or any like Todd McShay. I personally believe I'm better than Mel Kiper already, but I'm trying to get back to where I was a few years ago. We're going to go to what we need to know. Names you're going to start hearing more of. I'm going to put 3 quarterbacks in because what's the NFL draft usually about? And once you start getting into the season with the worst team, they need a new quarterback. So the one everybody already knows, but you're still going to need to keep an eye on is Trevor Lawrence, Clemson. He's coming out. This is the last year of Touchdown Jesus. He's going to come out.
Yeah.
People are going to, talk about that LSU game like they're blowing that way out of proportion. Look what you had. You still had a player that could move in the pocket, that played against an offense that was virtually unstoppable and still had multiple first-round picks on that defense.
He played against the greatest college offense of all time, possibly.
By far, maybe one of the best college championship teams of all time, and that's not even that's literally them and USC, my lifetime growing up, the most dominant ones I've ever seen, and that's over any Alabama team we've seen.
Right.
But, he's got some stuff to work on. He looked a little flustered at times, but he can win the big games. He can make every throw. He's 6'6", and he's perfect.
Yeah.
He's going to probably be one of the highest graded quarterbacks we've seen since Andrew Luck, and before that, Peyton, and then John Elway. He's going to be in their level. The next one, though, is in the recruiting class 3 years ago, the guy that was number 1 and he was number 2, Justin Fields. We saw what he did last year at Ohio State, finally getting that starting job because he committed to Georgia and got stuck behind Fromm. He's 6'3", 220. He threw 27 touchdowns last year to only 9 interceptions. Or no, I think it was 41 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions. Yeah, that's what it was. And 2 of them came in the playoffs. He's staring down his receivers a little too long. But if he can take another step forward after not playing for his freshman year, develop a little more accuracy and getting through reads a little quicker, he's going to go number 2 overall right now behind Lawrence. So it's probably going to be a 1-2 battle between those 2 all year. Unless my third guy right here comes in. Most people haven't heard about him, Brock Purdy. Have you heard about him at all?
I don't even know where he plays.
No idea?
Quarterback for Iowa State, right?
I showed you some film, didn't I?
Yeah, but I remember watching him in the bowl game too.
Okay, he trashed in the bowl game, but he was a true sophomore last year. He's 6'1", 210. He's athletic, can move in the pocket, can really set his shoulders at any time when he's running and throw down the field. He's got decent arm strength, nothing like great that you'd want to see for the number 1 overall pick. I still believe he can be a top 10 pick if he keeps working on everything. He's extremely accurate. He's that style that you want now that can move out of the pocket and still run the ball. He's not going to be as athletic as a Lamar Jackson, but think of more of a almost like closer to a Deshaun Watson type player. But I really love him, and he's probably going to start as my QB3. A lot of people are going to want to say Trey Lance. He's a redshirt freshman last year out of North Dakota State. He ran the ball too much for my liking. Like, you can see the potential in his arm. It's not really there. He didn't dominate throwing the ball as much as he should at that level of competition.
Yeah.
But I really like Brock Purdy. But for my last two, we're going to switch a little bit. We're going to go defense and offense. All right. So we're getting away from the quarterbacks. A player you're going to hear about, and this dude is a mammoth, Gregory Ross, D-line, DN mostly, redshirt freshman last year from Miami. Miami went 6-7, right? Like, we didn't hear about them much. He is 6'7", 253 pounds, second in the NCAA in sacks with 15.5 sacks. He can get after it almost like Calais Campbell, just that dominant presence along the defensive line. He had 19.5 tackles for loss last year. I think 59 total tackles, 2 forced fumbles. His first 2 steps are quick. He's going to keep putting on bulk. If he can put on another 15 to 20 pounds of muscle this offseason, coming into his redshirt sophomore, he's probably going to be the first defensive player taken off the board.
And for anybody that doesn't know like how that works, you have to enter the draft, you have to be out for 3 years of high school. And when he says red shirt, that means you set back a year. Some people might not know that. I'm not.
No, you're right there.
But for, like,
3 years removed from high school.
If you start as a true freshman, you have to wait till your junior year, and then. But if you're a red shirt freshman, that means you set out a year, so you can come out your red shirt sophomore year equals 3 years out of high school.
Yeah, by far. I mean, I don't know if anybody got to watch any of that Miami tape. He is just, you could tell he was the best player on that defense.
The only reason I say that is because people have been telling me for fucking 2 years that Trevor Lawrence was going to be the first round pick in the next year's draft was.
Yeah.
And I had to be like, dude, he's only he's a real true sophomore. And they're like, well, no, he can come out if he wants. No, he can't.
No, he can't. Like, people forget Maurice Claret tried doing that.
I was literally getting ready to say that.
Stop.
Yeah, I mean, Mike played for 2 years for the Lions, but he was just
he never panned out.
The problem with that is people say, well, the NBA can do it, baseball can do it. I get that, but as an 18-year-old in high school, I'm sorry, you can be one of the greatest players of all time in high school. The greatest player can't even be a practice squad player in the NFL. These are grown-ass men that have been put through rigorous training, and I get the NBA and stuff like that too, but this is a different level.
One of the only positions I could think would be okay
kicker
is running back, maybe.
No, running backs would get destroyed.
Adrian Peterson, when he was a freshman, he almost won the fucking he should have won the Heisman.
Well, we've seen freshmen win the Heisman too.
But not at that point in time. Not at that point in time.
No, it just took another 7 years.
I'm just saying, like,
he would have gotten destroyed.
That is one dude that I could.
Kicker would be the only thing I can think of.
I'm just saying, there's a couple people.
Yeah.
Ever. Bo Jackson, maybe, when he was a freshman. I guarantee he'd have been all right.
Marcus Dupree, did you ever watch that 30 for 30 the dude from that went to Oklahoma?
There's a bunch of people. There's a very short list of people that could do it, but
Peterson couldn't even start in the NFL.
I'm just saying, if you're not a skill position player, there's no way you could. If you're a lineman, there's no fucking way you could ever come in the league.
Your body's still growing.
Right. I'm just saying.
Perfect example is Giannis Antetokounmpo, who got drafted at 17, who was a stick figure.
Right.
If anybody's out, go look what he looked like on draft night. Yeah. People said, he has the potential. Same with Paul George.
At him his rookie year, he wasn't very big either.
And you saw a little bit of potential, but you're taking a long-term investment. That's what the NFL does by making them go to college for 3 years.
Right.
Can some of them come out after 2 years? Yes, but you've got to go to college.
You should see the sizes from rookie year to sophomore after they get into the healthy training from the pros. It's a huge difference. They look way different from damn near the rookie year.
Yeah, I mean, you go from you have to go to school, and it's still a full-time job.
Right.
60 to 70 hours a week is spent on your campus with your coaches and film, the weight room, everything else.
Yeah, but they're
once you get to the NFL,
there's a limited time they're allowed to do it.
Correct.
But then in the NFL, that's your fucking job, man. That's your life.
And you don't last if you don't do it.
Right. Right.
So then the last guy we're going to talk about, he would have been the number 2 overall pick this last year, and I'm 1,000% sure on that. He would have been my number 1 offensive tackle. We're talking about Penei Sewell. He's a junior from Oregon, was an All-American freshman, missed his last 6 games. He's 6'6", 325. He won the Outland Trophy last year as a true sophomore. Left tackle. I've never seen someone move so goddamn quick in the run game. Like, we saw what Mekhi Becton just ran. He runs smoother. He doesn't get beat in pass rush. Like, if you want to watch a clinic, watch the Pac-12 championship game and watch no one get past him. I haven't found a hole in his game, and I've watched, I think, 8 or 9 games from just last year, and I watched highlights from his freshman year. He is going to be the first non-quarterback taken in this draft, barring a significant injury this year. He is going to be the number 1 or 2 pick.
I was going to say, if you didn't have a Trevor Lawrence, depending on, if you didn't have Trevor Lawrence right there, I could see him possibly going number 1.
Well, it depends on.
Yeah, it depends on who has the number 1 overall pick. Now, it sounds weird, but if the Bengals are sitting there at number 1 again,
they're not going to take.
They're not, and they don't need to trade back. Just take your future left tackle, put what's his name on the right side, and go from there.
Yeah.
Jonah Williams. Or if it's a team that just got trounced and their quarterback was out for the year. I don't know, San Diego, something like that.
Anybody,
Arizona,
a quarterback.
Yeah. So he is going to be a player you're going to hear a lot about, and you should. Everything he does is damn near perfect, and it's a beautiful thing to watch. I say that as a former offensive lineman. I played in college, but good God, was I not good.
Right.
This dude just does everything the right way.
You have to be good to play at that level, but
he's not allowed to sack at all, hasn't he?
No, he is not.
Yeah, that just tells you everything.
Started as a true freshman, and I know the Pac-12. It's not the SEC, but there's still some
players. Hell of players that come out.
There's defensive. He just unbelievable. So
let's play a little game of Would You Rather, boys.
All right.
Oh yeah, it's that time of week again where we throw out 2 blind stat lines and let you pick the player you would rather start. Would you rather?
All right, so since we went over our top 5 receivers in the NFL this week, we're going to kind of do that theme. So going forward to whatever we do with top 5, I'm going to pull some stats from some of the players in the league. So it's going to be a simple thing. Literally, who would you rather have as one of your receivers right now? So I took 2 guys that were in the top 15 in most of the major categories, all right? Player A's got 86 receptions for 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns. On 95 targets last year, he had 3 drops. It's about a 3.2% drop rate. Nothing crazy high, a little higher than normal, but, catching 86 out of your 95 targets is pretty fucking good.
Right.
All right, so Player B, 62 receptions for 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns. He's targeted 134 times, only 1 drop. So if he's targeted and it's near him, he's rarely dropping that ball. Player C, the last one, 72 receptions for 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns on 128 targets and 2 drops. I will say this. There's major question marks with each quarterback that was thrown at these players. Each player, though, is under 26 years old. So they would be one of your future key pieces.
I'm going to go with B.
Okay.
I'm going to go with C.
I'm going to go with B because I like he only caught the ball 62 times, obviously, but he has about 40 less yards than C, and he's got more touchdowns than A, and
I threw the targets out there. 134 targets, only 62 receptions. I told you there was some major concerns with these.
Right, that's why I looked. When you said that, I was like, okay, well, maybe his quarterback's fucking throwing it over his head.
I will say this: player B and C, their quarterbacks returning next year. Player A's isn't.
Sweet. All right,
So where are you going with C, Reeves?
Pretty much damn near what Urban said. Damn near same thing. I mean, you have one less touchdown, but 10 more receptions, but was that 40 more yards?
Then player B. So you guys don't like player A who had more receptions, more yards?
No, that's player A. I'm just saying.
Because if I just gave out you names, you guys...
player A.
No, you already said C. Because if I would have said player A, you guys would have all taken him based off name.
Right.
Hopkins?
No, it's Chris Godwin.
I don't hate it.
Yeah. Urban, you took Cooper Kupp.
I'll take that.
Any guess on who you took, Reeves? I can say this: I was obsessed with him 4 years ago when he came out in the draft.
And that makes a lot of sense because Jared Goff is fucking
all over the place.
mediocre.
But look, Godwin was targeted. The fact that Winston got it that close to him each time is a blessing in and of itself.
Now, who the hell's C?
Devontae Parker.
I'm glad he's starting to show.
Same.
Yeah.
I told you I loved him when he was coming out.
Yeah, he's not bad either, man.
These guys are
good.
Really good top number 2 pieces. That's why Tampa Bay, it's scary to think what the hell they're going to do this year. Now, does Brady have the arm that Winston has? Hell no. He can't throw it on with just a flick of the wrist down the field.
Right. He's not going to throw they're not going to have as many jump balls as they did last year.
And red zone, I will say this: Brady can place a deep out route. Because now that you've got Evans, Godwin, and Gronk who are all 6'5" and over, that's fucking fair.
And Brady, he's tall as fuck too.
So do you think the 9 times he didn't catch those were interceptions?
That's actually
under 5. Like,
I can actually look that up. No, I can look that up right now. So I mean, that's a really good question because I'd like to see that number for also like when Mike Evans was targeted, who also had 1,200 yards and then was out the last 3 weeks.
Right.
Because that's the good thing about Pro Football Reference started doing analytics, more stats, and so out of those,
where I get a lot of my questions of the week.
Okay, so he only played in 14 games, which is ridiculous of itself. Interceptions, they don't put that stat on there. I was really hoping they would because
it's probably somewhere you just have to.
I'd have to screw.
There's at least 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. He threw 30.
I'm giving Jameis the benefit of the doubt.
Oh, and he actually only had 1 drop last year. I was reading his 2018 stats, so he was even better this past year. It's just it used to be. When targeting a certain player, I need that stat to come out. Like, how many times was it intercepted? And that's just not on there. So, I mean, drop, breaking tackles.
Well, you guys ready to crack open that 6-pack?
Yeah, I've been getting thirsty.
This is the 6-pack of the week.
All right, with the first question, who has the most rushing yards in Cardinals history?
In Cardinals history.
In Arizona Cardinals history.
It's not Edge and James or Emmitt Smith, and I'm not even gonna play that. I can think of the player, I just can't think of the name, so hit me.
Otis Anderson.
Yeah. And it was 80s, actually, I think. With Otis.
Late 90s. He ended up going to the fucking Giants for a few years, I'm pretty sure.
He was on there. Yeah. Okay, I mean, I could picture it, I just couldn't think off the top of my head.
All right, who has the most sacks in Cowboys history?
Man. Sacks didn't become an official stat, though, until 82. So this should be obvious, shouldn't it? DeMarcus Lawrence? No. It'd be, God damn it, played for the Broncos and just won a Super Bowl when Peyton was there.
Yeah, you're right. It's DeMarcus Ware.
Ware. Sorry. 6, just a freak of an athlete.
Right.
Him and Julius Peppers were by far the 2 best rushers. That's why Freeney never got the love he should have.
Right.
Deservingly so. Both those players are in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Or not once they're eligible.
Who has the most interceptions in a single season?
Oh, God. Played in the fucking 60s and 70s.
Yeah, he's got a cool nickname.
Yeah.
Dick Night Train Lane, baby.
Yeah.
He's a favorite of mine. 4, what player has the most passing yards in Raiders history?
Ooh, in Raiders history. Man. Why am I drawing a blank on their damn quarterback from the 70s? Jake the Snake.
Very surprising answer. Not your answer, but the answer to this is very surprising.
Rich Gannon?
It's fucking Derek Carr. He just broke
It's more of a passing league in the end.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. Even,
longevity. Okay, I mean...
Yeah, that one's crazy to me. What player has the most receiving touchdowns in Packers history?
Jesus Christ. Sterling Sharp?
Close. I think he's second or third. It's Donald Driver.
Okay.
And then, who was the youngest player ever inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
Jim Brown?
Gale Sayers, 34.
Okay. Well, I was just thinking Brown retired straight.
Right. 10 years. I mean, I think Gale Sayers only played 9.
If that.
7 or 9, something like that. But he had a lot of great years. I don't even think the Bears ever made the playoffs while he was on the team.
I might have his rookie year. I feel like they did his rookie year. But that's it for this week's episode. We actually got some exciting news. Next week's episode, for the rest of the summer, we're going to have a lot of guests on.
We're going to try to, at least.
And when I say guests, not just Reese's.
Yeah, not just Reeves.
We're going to have Johnny Kinsley on. He covers the 49ers for 49ers Hub. He also has a quarterback deep ball project that he's been working on that was actually released for the first time last month.
Yeah, really
it's a beautiful thing. He'll be on next week. That. And the Football Dudes podcast based out of LA, they'll be on with us next week as well.
Sweet.
We're going to have kind of the top 5 questions headed into the summer, and we'll probably discuss the top 5 linebackers with them. But technically 3 huge guests coming on next week, and we have more even bigger news planned for the rest of the summer. So we're just really excited. We're actually taking this forward, and we're going to get some big names on this show going forward.
Yeah, we are going to announce that, though, now. That is our question of the week, so start thinking of it now. Who are the top 5 linebackers in the NFL right now? So
enjoy your week, everybody.